Hey everybody, it's Father Casey, the pastor of the Epiphany of Our Lord Church, and I welcome you once again to our YouTube channel, The Fourth Magi. This week, we're going to focus on a phrase that we've heard often. Actions speak louder than words. And we know the meaning of that phrase, that, no matter what you say, or what your intentions are, or what you intended to do, your thoughts mean nothing if they never translate into actions. So if you say to someone, I'm going to help you with your car, and you never show up, it sounded really good at the time, but your actions were non-existent, and therefore your help was meaningless. But I intended to help them. That really means nothing in the long run. And we know people like that. They say, I'm going to get to that, I'm going to do that, I wish I could help you with that, or, and we know with ourselves, that sounds like a good idea. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to sign up for that. I'm intending to do that. But it never translates into actions, and therefore nothing happens, and therefore our thoughts, our intentions, our words are meaningless. And that's really what the crux of the readings are. You see, in the gospel, Jesus is dealing with these spiritual leaders. And they're really, when you really come down to it, they're really not bad guys. Do they come into conflict with Jesus all the time? Yes. Because Jesus is interpreting the law in his way, and that is rubbing up against the spiritual leaders whose job is to interpret the law. And so they started, in effect, because they go to Jesus and they say, your disciples, they're wagging the finger, your disciples, they don't wash their hands before eating. They are ritually important. They are breaking the law. And in effect, Jesus says that the law, it's stupid. He really basically would come down to Jesus saying, this is a stupid tradition, but it was not a tradition created by God. It was a tradition created by the religious leaders of years gone past, which just keeps getting perpetuated. And Jesus is basically saying, when you really think about this, it's stupid. Because nothing that I put into my mouth can make me impure. Nothing that, if I eat with dirty hands, I'm not impure. I got dirty hands. But I'm not impure. So, and I remember going to Tel Aviv and seeing all the washing stations that were all over the hotel so that you could wash before eating. Very important to the Orthodox, the observant Jews. And they think they're doing the right thing, but Jesus is saying, all of these rituals are meaningless if you are not a good person. Like when Jesus is asked, what are the two most important commandments? What does he say? Love the Lord your God with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's taken from the book of Deuteronomy, which is our first reading. That's not where that particular reading is not Deuteronomy this week, but it's taken from the book of Deuteronomy. And then he says the second commandment is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And one of the things that our culture gets wrong is that love is not the gushy feeling you have about your loved ones, your family members, your significant others. Aww. That's not what Jesus is talking about when he talks about love. Love is a verb. So if you're going to love God with your whole being, you better be doing something about it. If you're going to love your neighbor, it's not how you think about your neighbor or how you feel about your neighbor. What do I do for my neighbor? Who's my neighbor? Everybody. So that means the poor, the disenfranchised, the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the homeless. those who are sick and those who are in prison. That when we do something about those situations, then we're loving our neighbor. And in turn, we're loving our God by taking the actions. Not, one day I'm going to feed the hungry. One day I'm going to work with the homeless. One day I'm going to visit the imprisoned and the sick. That's not good enough. And we find out later in the gospel that really winds up landing us in hot water. Something hot anyway. So love is a verb and requires action. And that's why Jesus says, washing your hands, that just doesn't cut it. It's really a stupid ritual. What makes you impure is lust, anger, gluttony, all of the sins that we do that come out of our mouth, gossip and anger and rage and, all of the sexual sins and all of its varieties. Those are the things that make us impure, but those are the things that come out of us, that come out of our heart, not into our mouth. That's the point that Jesus was making. So let us take a look this week at some of the rituals that we cling to. Like the rosary is a beautiful ritual. But if we say the rosary, and then we go and we start gossiping about people, we start slandering people, we start, yelling at our spouse or cheating on our taxes or lying and stealing, well then what's the point of saying the rosary? It's really kind of stupid. Don't waste your time with the rosary if you're going to do all of these other things. And that's what Jesus was saying to the Pharisees. Like, yeah, you can wash your hands, but if you're going to cheat your neighbor on anything, or you're going to be an SOB, well, what's the point? You might as well do things with dirty hands, but a pure heart. So what are the rituals that we think are so important? Do they coincide with our actions? Well, then it's okay. But are we doing one ritual and doing the opposite of what we should be doing? Do we have pure hearts, or do we have dirty hearts? God bless you.